Hey gang, how's it going? We are back here at Ohio Grove Cemetery in the Sycamore area of Illinois. And for those of you right off the bat, if you haven't seen the video about the body snatching that happened in St. Charles, the mad doctor, if you will, I'll put the link in here. Go back, watch that video first to get the context of what we're talking about here, continuing our investigation. We've got a lot more interesting things we found out, and one of the big helpers in this is a descendant of Marilla's. Well, the wife of the husband who's a descendant, a David Churchill, and again that was the same name as her father. So go back, watch that video, then come back here. But what we're going to do now is we are going to search for the Lovell's Tavern. The Lovell's Tavern and the Lovell family were the ones who alerted all the good folks here that Marilla, who was just turned 16 years old, was and she had died of a disease. Her body was stolen right from here at night. Resurrectionists for a doctor. And what we're going to do is we want to find the Lovell's Tavern. We're going to go on a search right now. I brought Cody with, my assistant. She's been really helpful, so I want to give her a shout out. I think you guys will all like Cody. Some of you that may remember her. And let's go look for the tavern, and then let's come back here, and then I'm going to tell you some updates, some things we found out. And this may be just part 2 of a part 3 that may come. There's still more to figure out. So let's go, come on with, and let's find that tavern, and then we'll go from there. It was back in 1849 that her body was stolen, and we're back here on the hunt for more of her background and who she was. And here is our little friend that's going to help us today, Kodiak. What do you say, girl? Yeah, and look here. This is the Lovell grave. This is the family plot for the Lovells. So we are going to continue on here, and we're actually going to start here by looking for the grave. Not the grave, we're going to be looking for the ruins, or if it's still there, the Lovell Tavern. And I passed, on the way east here, I passed a road called Lovell Road. So go figure, that's got to be getting close. So let's head over there and see what we find on our first step in search of Marilla. Okay, we are just about over a half mile to 3/4 of a mile east of the cemetery on the same road. And in coming this way, I remember it's got to be about just ahead. I came in from a different road, but Lovell Road has to cut this little highway here, and I'm guessing it's just ahead. So this has to be right in here where the tavern was. I'm guessing this road right here was it. So let's continue up ahead here till we can make that cut. I'm sensing that cut is just ahead here, and I'm not really seeing anything super old. We're looking for a stone structure or a wood structure from the 1800s, mid 1800s. I don't know, guys. I'm guessing that this is Lovell Road right here. I can see it on the sign. And this has to be right in here. This has to be where the tavern was. But nothing but modern houses. All right, I'm going to continue up ahead a little, and then I'm going to backtrack, and we'll go north on Lovell Road. That'll be our last chance. Now, I'm just south of the cemetery, and I am west of Lovell Road, but I'm looking at this old place, and this is definitely 1800s. Could this be Could this somehow be what was the Lovell Tavern? Stay. Okay, gang, I think this is the old Lovell Tavern Roadhouse. I spoke to one of the neighbors, and she said that this does date way back to the 1800s, and she said that she's been in this house, it's vacant, and it has 2 kitchens. Wow, it's amazing. Look at the detailing and the cornice work. Isn't that beautiful? Look at that. Interesting. Well, maybe we can, she did give me information on who to talk to see if we can get in here. It's all being leased right now under this whole landfill project. Look at that. Wow. Interesting. It definitely looks of that period. Look at that original stonework. This is probably it. So I'm here because there's nobody lives here. Boy, it's beautiful. Look at that. That is just amazing. Oh, we'll see if we can get in there. We'll see if we can get in. Look at those, look at the limestone arches. That all looks original. Even this possibly. Yep, it's all overgrown. Very interesting. And the vultures too. They are hanging out right on top of that barn over there. Look at that. Spooky, huh? I think those are turkey vultures, guys. Yep. Okay, we are back. We are back from our search, and it looks like we may have found the Level Tavern. We need to confirm that, and we will do so in the next episode on this mission, because I think we're going to keep going. But I got some great information to share with you, some more details. And the first is that what's very interesting is that right on the other side here, and I see a big wooden cross. You would never notice it. right on the edge of the cemetery, I'll show a picture of it. This had a church and maybe a school, and I found the pictures of it. There was a great database that Barbara Churchill, who has helped us a lot here, she's the descendant, or the wife of the direct descendant, and she actually set up the Find a Grave, and she has a lot of genealogy background, it looks like. So we got some great information here, guys, and you're gonna love it. She gave me the database with thousands of pictures of this area, and I found the church. So I'm gonna put that picture in here right now. And I made some notes. It said that it was in the town, or was the town, called Cortland. And going back to, I did some further research with Barb, and we found out a lot more things, some more details on the story, I pulled out some of the more interesting details that we didn't know about. One thing was when the wagon of the three men came from St. Charles, and I believe it was Elmwood Cemetery where Maria Ridolph is buried, another episode, beautiful cemetery in the center of town at Sycamore, that the watchers, or the men that were waiting for them, there were 4 men, not 3. There were 3 in the wagon, they say, but there was a 4th man who met them there in the dark. And they converged, they came together, and it was like the man was giving them instructions. Now remember, this was the part where they were allegedly looking for the first grave before they stole Marilla's body, of a German who was kind of a loner who had just died and they heard about. So they were standing over his grave, and the shadowy figure, the 4th guy who came from somewhere else, Sycamore, probably, was kind of leading them and showing them where the German's grave is. Now later, they figured out, one of them recognized him. He was a doctor from Sycamore. I don't have his name, but it would be fun. We'll dig deeper and see if we can find out. But he was in on it. And he's going to come into play later because he knew Dr. Richards. So this was all a big setup. This whole grave robbing in this area, they had a ring. Now it is noted that George Kenyon, when he was in the, going on in the story, and they first encountered the house that you saw of Dr. Richards, his residence, which was a lab too, and I believe they had a search warrant, but whatever, they got in there, and George Kenyon noticed, and again, he was the fiance, I think he was 21 years old, to Marilla. He noticed on the stone flagging of the floor a lock of golden hair, and it was, from what we understand, Marilla's hair was long and she was beautiful, we know that, but it was remarkable. I'm going to say it was probably blonde, strawberry blonde, with the curl, just like the picture I put in the cover, which is kind of coincidental. I found that piece of artwork. So she probably did look like that. And he saw it, a piece, I don't know if it was a lock or what, but he saw it on the floor and he recognized it instantly. And I was also surprised to learn that when they first were pushed out of there and said, there's no evidence, get out of here, you have to leave, that Dr. Richards not only said, I have no subjects now, but if you come again in a few days, I will have a lot of them, which I think is a really crazy statement to make if you're trying to get rid of these people. But he said, from out your way too. Can you believe that? He said, I'll have some more subjects, but also from out your way. So that was kind of like a insult, and the tempers were high, and I'm sure he didn't know what the retribution was going to be. What powder keg he was messing with here from the Sycamore folks, led by David Churchill. And after the initial confrontation at the door, not only was Dr. Richards mean and uncooperative, but this rude kid, who, by the way, There's a few more cemeteries. I'm checking all. Remember Sycamore? What was it? The one I just did up to the north here. I'll think of Burlington. I am going back there again to scour. There's no records, and there's another cemetery over here. I'm gonna try to find his grave. Find it. It'll be part 3, or in this episode. Who knows? But he was being a malcontent also. He was pushing the buttons, and he was looking at George. And he really talking trash and enraging. That's what really spawned the rifle shot, well, aside from the other gun coming out the door from George Kenyon, which ended up killing him. Now, there was also a German witness, actually witnesses that had, and again, the town was against Dr. Richards. Nobody liked what was going on there, and it went on for quite some time. And there were German witnesses that came forward that said they saw Marilla, a young woman, a beautiful woman. Again, she had just turned 16. And they had said, quote unquote, golden haired. So we know that. And this was corresponded with the description of Mrs. Kenyon, Marilla. Now, after they killed Rood and stormed the house, and smashed the windows, and they hit him with a stone, there was an interesting quote that I came across that was said by one of the leaders. It said, "Now your students can have a subject without sending to DeKalb County for it." So I thought that was interesting. And still Dr. Richards refused, as we know, to give up Marilla. He had her, and the popular indignation from the town was exhibited, and we didn't know this, I found this out, as they walked out of town from the windows of the main street there, just like Mardi Gras, the women came out with handkerchiefs and they were in support of the mob, and that was their own town that was being invaded. So you know the tempers were high going all around. I thought that was interesting. And then the river, you know, you have to cross the Fox River. It's a pretty big river. And there was a bridge, and the locals, or this group with Dr. Richards, who, by the way, was warned because, and this getting back to the doctor, remember the shadowy figure at the Elmwood Cemetery in Sycamore? He got ahead when all of that happened. He rode on that horse back to warn Dr. Richards. So before the mob even came and didn't know this, they had removed the bridge. And of course there was even the footbridge. So there was trouble getting across. They got across and they noticed that this guy's horse, that doctor, he wasn't to be found, but they recognized his horse. And I'm not sure, I forget what it's called when a horse has been run out and it was like sweating and frothing and it was spent. But I thought that was interesting. So we had the lawyer that calmed things down. His name was John F. Farnsworth. And he brought back a young medical student named Harvey, who seemed to know where Marilla was. And she was just to the south. They eventually found her in the town, next town downriver of Geneva, Illinois. But it kind of conflicts, and this is something we've got to do more research on, it conflicts a little bit with the story that they took Dr. Richards by force to the river and they held his head underwater until he finally confessed. I don't know. I have less faith in that version, but that is a version that came out. So, yeah, Geneva, this Harvey guy, he basically said, "She's there. I'm going to bid you farewell." And he was kind of part of that gang, but I guess his conscience got the best of him. And they said that as soon as he pointed out the location, he didn't even wait for them. He said, "I bid you farewell. You will never see me again." And he was gone. He probably went out west. He probably went to hunt the buffalo later or served in the Civil War. Who knows? Never seen again. And again, we know that after they dug down and found Marilla's body, it was about 2 feet, only about 2 feet underground. There was a man named Nelson who was in the group, and once they washed her body, her nude body, clean in the river, he said that she should be coffined. And she was being coffined entirely nude. And this man took his jacket off, and he took his clothes off, and he took his long, I guess they wore long underwear quite regularly in the day. I've heard, by the way, if you've heard the story of the Lost Dutchman's mine, there was a story where, I'm not going to get too far off topic, but where the Indians blindfolded a guy to take him to the mine. It was a doctor, and said, you can take as much gold as you want, but only what you can carry. He stripped to his underwear, tied the ankles, and loaded the long underwear with gold. And they said it looked like another pair of legs following him as he rode off. But anyway, he took off his underwear, and Nelson used that to dress Marilla so she wouldn't be nude. I thought that was quite interesting. When Marilla was brought back here, and it may have been this church, I think it was the Presbyterian church, they said, quote unquote, that George was absolutely in hysterical delight. And that was the quote, hysterical delight. And he cried, he laughed, he wept. You can just imagine the notion. And she was, again, uncorrupted. I'm not saying we have a saint here in Marilla, but it was now 2 to 3 weeks after her death, and she was not embalmed, I don't think. And I mean, that's another thing we can check, but she was in a perfect state. And the doctors, they didn't get to her yet, which is thankful. So Barbara, just to close out this episode, Barbara came up with something really big, and I'm going to share this with you right now. Marilla's older sister, we have a picture of her. And I'm going to tell you, in the 1850s, 1840s, there were no cameras, but there was there was no cameras as they got, the original cameras were called daguerreotypes. They were boxes, with the whole, it was like the first thing. And I can tell you I'm very familiar with those because of my work in the Arctic looking for the lost doomed ships of the Franklin expedition. That was 1845 when they departed England. Sailors, officers that disappeared in the Arctic. By the way, I found the Erebus, one of the ships, first to find it from the air. I have pictures and skeletons of the sailors, but we have daguerreotype pictures of those men and the officers from the docks in England as they left. So I'm very familiar. So there was a picture taken, and it is when she was older. So I'm going to share that with you. It's an up-close picture of Sophie, and Barbara had said in parentheses Affy or Abby, so I don't know if it's Sophie, Affy, or Abby, but she was born a couple of years before Marilla in 1830, and it is said, and Barbara said, she was quite pretty. Now at 60, you'll see in the picture here, she has an intense stare. She has, at 60 years old, and the hard, rugged life they lived in those days, she has very good features. And she was unmarried when Marilla married George, and there might have been some stigma to that. Just a note on the side that a younger sister would, we wouldn't think of that today, but in those days, if you would get married in order. So from what we understand, Marilla was absolutely strikingly beautiful. So Sophie got married February 3rd, 1852 to a neighboring farmer named Luther L. Wheeler, right here. And everything here is really close. What's cool is if you come to the cemetery, and if any of you are from northern Illinois or southern Wisconsin, this is worth to come here and look. Just imagine and down the road here, right over here, the Lovell, we think it's the Lovell Roadhouse. So I have taken the features of Marilla's sister and tried to interpolate back in time what she may have looked like when she was younger, and then interpolate that in what Marilla probably looked like. And I created a rendering of Marilla. It's probably not going to be exactly what she looked like, but for our imagination, it's probably going to be darn close to what she looked like, taking her sister's features especially. So hope you like it, and we'll continue to investigate this mystery deeper and deeper. I'm going to continue to work with Barbara Churchill, the wife of one of the direct descendants, David, and thank you, Barbara, for doing that. Really appreciate it. And you guys are unbelievable. What a crew. What a family of subscribers, and the comments. I mean, a lot of smart people solving these mysteries with me. I couldn't do it without you, and I really appreciate it. Let's keep digging in. Isn't this fun? So at this point, I'm gonna sign off. Have a great day, and be safe, everybody.